And we should be live. Hopefully, we are live. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. If you can't hear me, just give a holler. I actually don't have our YouTube chat open, but I just need to get that going. Guys, you're welcomed here this evening for round 7 at Paul Ricard for RaceFace's second round, or second season, should I say, of their Assetto Corsa Competizione. I'm joined again by a guest that we had last week, and he has made his way, weaseled his way back into the box here. Ryan is back. We've got Ryan Gill.
I am back, George. It's been a long week, you know. It's been a long week since the last race, and I was missing the South African racing so much that when you gave me the opportunity to come back, I just couldn't say no.
I mean, I had to beg him to come back. He lies about that. So I had to beg and plead to get him back here. So we do appreciate you being here, Ryan. And it's good to have some good company again for what is going to be a good race, I believe. So I want to jump into the qualifying session, Ryan. We were a little bit pushed for time here, so I'm going to pull that up on our side and let us head over there, and we can carry on our chat as we kind of get towards the end of the quali session here today. Let me get the sound up for the cars, and hopefully everybody can hear the audio and just let us know that you can hear the cars, you can hear the commentators, and you can see the stream. Sometimes I make a mistake, and I let's be honest, I bring the what's it called? What did I do last time, Ryan? I showed my Porsche on camera or something.
Yeah, we had a really good view of that really nice green Porsche on your desktop, and you know, look, I'm a big fan of wallpapers myself. You know, I have 3 Lamborghinis on my monitors, but I think everyone at home is probably a bit more interested in some of the racing action at home. There's plenty of beautiful Porsches on the grid today that they can feast their eyes on, because I know you're going to be eyeing a lot of them up, George.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we can also talk about, is that we do have some custom liveries being shown off on the grid. So RaceFace has incorporated a little livery upload tool, which allows us to showcase some of the design talents that we've got here today. So hopefully those will all run smoothly and not cause too many issues on our end as well. It's something that we're trying out, and if it breaks something, then we know for next time not to load lots of custom liveries with a grid of 30 drivers. Ryan, are you still able to hear me on your end?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just having some minor stream side issues, so if something happens on the stream end, please just holler in the chat, guys. Let us know what's going on. So at the moment, let me just run down through what our current qualifying times look like. So up at the top of the order, we got Jason Absmeyer for White Rabbits starting off on pole position with a 153.913. Then we've got Keegan Masters up in second place. He's going to be starting. Let me just grab up a nice view for us as we switch sessions. So we got Keegan Masters starting second on the grid, and we've got Jordan Sherritt coming out and starting third. So that's quite an interesting top 3. Sherritt, of course, starting with ballast. He won last week's race, and now he's going to be running with a little bit of ballast this time around. I say a little bit, Ryan, 50 kgs. Going to be a heavy car for Sherritt to pilot around, and I'm keen to see what the young man brings to the table when being pushed with. It's definitely a difficult race to now have to run with that 50 kgs, as do the rest of the order as well. There's a couple of guys all with ballast. You'll see it if we pull it up on the board. Sherritt with 50 kgs. Then with 40 kgs, we've got Versace. Antal, he's running with 10 kgs, 30 kgs for. Is that Bruno, and Cap running with 20. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting race for all those drivers here today, and a packed out grid as everybody's waiting to get off the line and start their formation lap here, Ryan.
Yeah, we saw quite a dominant performance from Sherritt last time out at the Nürburgring, didn't we? Despite getting a drive-through penalty, Sherritt did still come home for a very, very dominant win. and took a very dominant pole position as well last time out. Not the case here today. That 50 kilos of ballast has definitely played a part. There's no doubt about that. But starting third, not too bad, I have to say, to be honest, and kind of sandwiched in between the Porsches, isn't he? He's got 2 Porsches in front of him, 2 Porsches behind, and I think of the top 10, yeah, half of the top 10, all Porsche 911 Mark IIs. So very interesting to see the Porsche, you know, doing quite well here, as it does tend to do at a lot of different circuits. It's nice to see the McLaren high up the order again, 7th place. That's a very good performance for a McLaren 720S, which does tend to struggle around a lot of circuits in ACC, it has to be said.
It was nice to see that mixture of cars coming through. I think the Porsche dominant field, not so much really. It kind of feels like here, it's not all of them sitting right up the order. I mean, there are a fair amount of them, but a mixture of other cars in the order. I know that you love those McLarens, so I know that Zian Cap is going to be getting many praises from you as we see him drive around. He's a driver for Kai K Racing as we switch over to him. So quite a few guys here representing different teams. We'll try our best to get them right. Hopefully they've named their teams correctly in their team liveries. It just makes it so much easier when switching drivers that you don't have version 1.35 as the team name as opposed to what they're actually trying to drive with. So Ryan and I will do our best to name all these drivers in their teams. Of course, in terms of the championship points, things have changed up a little. Ryan, do you have that available to you to update us on who stands at the top before we get to the start of this race?
I don't actually have the championship.
I've got
standings up to date.
I've got it.
I have last week's, but unfortunately, I think that's a bit outdated now. But
yeah,
I would reckon that McCall is probably still up near the top. If not, it's probably Bruno Cadile.
Yeah, so Bruno Cadile is definitely up towards the top of the order. He's currently sitting in first. He's overtaken Morgan McCall, who won't actually be racing here today. So both McCall brothers are actually sick at the moment. So thinking about those guys, unfortunately, they can't be here to race. And Arne Visaki is sitting in third. So that top 3, Charles Wilkin, 4th, Jan Kapp, 5th, Paul Gerber in 6th, Kieron Patterson in 7th, 8th for Johan Bego Grobler, Keegan Masters in 9th, and Daniel Rowe in 10th. So that top 10 is definitely got a couple of names in it that I'm missing from the order of where some of these drivers have shown in terms of their performance in the last couple of rounds. So guys fighting up from the mid-pack, trying to get their way up the order as well. And I don't think the championship is quite yet decided. So these guys here are really fighting it out and trying to maintain victory right up until the very end. And Paul Ricard, we talked about it off stream, Ryan. We haven't had a chance to really broadcast a good race here in a while, and it's going to be interesting. 30 cars here. It's a circuit that does tend to yield or lend itself to some good overtaking opportunities, being so wide and just the straights. I mean, you just sit in the slipstream. Guys are often switching up positions coming into the sector that we are following George Weil-Arvid around at the moment. I probably should get up to our leaders as well, Ryan. So yeah, in terms of overtaking opportunities, Paul Ricard, something that you like about the circuit, or are you on the side of hating it?
I mean, look, the circuit itself, I think, is actually brilliant. 120-something layouts that this circuit has makes it the most versatile circuit in the world, and that is incredible in of itself. I think there are better layouts than the F1 layout or the one that the GTs are using, for sure, but overtaking chances are plentiful around here, especially on the back straight, where I think we will see some of the strength of a number 16 Lamborghini that I've spied down towards the mid-pack of the field. But as they come around the final corner 2x2 at the moment, everyone just getting into place for the start of the race. It will be Jason Absmeyer that leads them down towards the line with Keegan Masters alongside him.
Go.
And as they go green now, the car's off towards turn 1, diving out of position. Keegan Masters got a brilliant start compared to Jason Absmeyer, and he's actually going to lead into turn 1. Jason Absmeyer, and there's a Porsche caught in the background, one of the light green Porsches. I think that might have been Wilkin that was caught up in that, not entirely sure.
Yeah, it was, you're right. Charles Wilkin and Kieran Patterson, both in those Lumo Porsches, both of them were caught up. It looks like Patterson was allowed or continued to drive on by. It looks like Wilkin was the one that lost out heavily. He was running around in 4th place. But up the front of the order, there's battles going down. This camera angle that we see here, as we overlook that T3 corner, you just see how many of these guys are trying to get themselves alongside, trying to better themselves into position. I think we can get some name tags going above the cars as well for the viewers. It makes it a lot easier for them, makes it a lot easier for us to be able to call some of the action as we watch Kieran Patterson making his way down that long straight, winding that Porsche. Currently the order stands Jason Absmeyer and Keegan Masters jousting it out for 1st and 2nd. It looked like Masters not going to hold it, but he is going to hold the inside line. They are going to switch up as they come around that fast right-hander. It's going to be Masters holding off, but Sherritt is looking like he can get a little nose in here as well. He's trying to fight off, and I mean, he's driving around with 50 kgs of ballast. If he can get a good start and get things underway, that's going to be a super start for Jordan Sherritt here, as Jason Absmeyer takes over the lead from Masters as Sherritt presses now to try and get 2nd place. He's got the line, he's got the run. Masters going to have the inside line coming into the right-hander, and Sherritt going to be forced out wide. So I think Masters going to hold off for now, but Sherritt continues to fight back. The right-hander, that hairpin, is just going to be a parking zone for that pink Porsche, and Sherritt just going to have to settle in for 3rd for now, Ryan.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that Sherritt has to be careful of is track limits around here. Paul Ricard is notorious for drive-through penalties. The track limits are extremely strict around here. And Sherritt pushing the limits of what is possible through track limits, as we just see Masters go a bit wide and a bit too deep into the first corner. That's going to give Sherritt the momentum that he needs and the run that he needs as they come down towards turn 3. Sherritt's going to have the inside line. He's going to make it easy into turn 3 and up into 2nd place for the Audi. It's been a very good start for him so far, and now he's going to have to look to close down the likes of Jason Absmeyer. Just to quickly touch on Wilkin, who was the Porsche that went off at turn 1. He's all the way down in 24th. He's got an incredible job on his hands to pick off any good result from this.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult place to climb, but if anyone can, Wilkin will be the man to do it. Just look at Masters using the slip here of Jordan Sherritt down that fast straight. I mean, this is where they'll go side by side. The Audi will now have to yield to the Porsche. Going to tuck back behind for the right-hander. Oh, he does not quite need to do it, and Sherritt holds off Masters, stays on the inside line. Again, it's all about maintaining those track limits in these sections, Ryan. You talked about it. I mean, if you've got an hour and 20 minutes of racing to go, you've only got 4 real chances, and on that 4th one, that's when you're being sent to the pits for a drive-through penalty. So track limits definitely something that we're going to have to master and keep a monitor on and see what guys are doing. I want to jump down the order a little bit here and see if we can find some more action that's going down. So this is the battle between Arno, Versace, and Ansel. So Versace sitting in 3rd in the championship. Ansel is currently in 9th in front in the blue, white, and red Porsche, and Krobler behind in the RaceFace themed Team Wolf purple and black Mercedes. So Daniel Rowe also trying to chase down on these guys. He's currently sitting in 12th place. It looks like Corne Strauss for EKZ Motorsport. He's right on the back of Jason Gray. Jason Gray, of course, going to be holding on to 14th. Strauss in 15th. And Sienerin, he's also trying to press a Strauss here. Strauss getting very loose. And Sienerin in that Bentley just going to be able to take a free position off Strauss's hands, as will Wilkin, as we did a little update there, Ryan. He was in 20th before. He's now made his way up into 16th place, and that's only in the space of a lap.
Yeah, it's incredibly well done, and it's the kind of work that he needs to put in at the moment. The longer he spends behind slower cars, the worse his end result is going to be. So the most important thing for him right now is to get his foot down and just get past every car in front of him that's going slower. I mean, he qualified up towards, was it 4th place? So that's definitely something that he's going to have to be, aware of, is that a lot of the guys he's going to be following are going to be slower than him. as I was just actually watching the 111 of Mark and Tell, who went very, very wide on the main straight coming out of the corner leading onto the Mistral straight. So lots and lots of time lost for the 111 Porsche, and that has allowed the 94 Audi of Asahi and the 15 of Bago Grobler to close right up onto the back of that Porsche. There was a 1 second gap between those three originally, but that has all been closed down in the space of half a second.
Yeah, it's going to be a test of endurance here. We've got a mandatory stop, so it'll be interesting to see. Ooh, Grobler running wide in the background there for Saki, not going to lose out too much, is going to allow Daniel Rowe in that pink Ferrari to get a little bit closer. Nice little train of cars forming up here, Ryan, as they make their way down to start their third lap here at Paul Ricard. We've got an hour and 18 minutes of racing to go, and if this is the kind of action that we're going to see from guys on track, well, sign me in and keep me signed in for that. We see Vasaki just trying to push those braking markers and braking points a little bit further each time, trying to see where he can make up space to Ansel. And you put your car in this kind of position and, going to try and have a little lunge on the inside. Ansel is going to defend it off, not allow him to get through. He's holding the inside apexes here, but this is maybe going to allow Grobler to get a nice run onto the straight here, onto the back of Arno Vasaki. So I'm interested to see how this actually plays out, because Vasaki may have cost himself a bit of time and allowed this Mercedes to work in the slip and try and work down on this long straight section.
Yeah, we often see it when you have a group of three cars so close together. It's often the car in the middle that ends up losing all the places and, finding themselves in an accident sometimes, as well as you see the Mercedes of Bago Grobler go right up to the back of the Audi, and now he's going to be side by side as they come towards the end of the Mistral straight. Just a slight touch between the two of them. That's going to send Bago Grobler wide. It's going to give the number 4 Ferrari of Roa a look on the inside. He's not going to have any attempt into it. But more importantly, Antel cannot pull away from the likes of Vasahi. He's actually staying with him really well here. And I think this little train of 4 cars is going to have quite a few battles with them over the next few laps if they can stay this close together.
You're not wrong, Ryan. This is definitely proving to be an interesting little battle that's forming, because Rowe is definitely closing down on this. He had to brake early at the end of the fast right-handed straight to just kind of hold position, and there he's got an easy move done onto Grobler. Grobler running wide on the exit of the final corner, and that's allowed the pink Ferrari to move itself up a position. Ryan, you're not allowed to mention that I just called a Ferrari a Porsche, or a Porsche a Ferrari, but Ansel, he's been given a couple of cars lengths for free here, and he needs to work with this now. He needs the cars working behind him to benefit him. He needs them to fight, and whilst they're doing that, he needs to concentrate on not blocking his lines. He needs to find those racing lines and find his race pace to try and move away from the pressure that Vasaki's doing. So, I mean, you see Rowe now having got that move done on Grobler. Grobler now dropping down in terms of pace for himself, because he's got Grayling and Wilkin right behind him. So, that chance to try and chase is not going to always be there if you've got pressure behind. And Vasaki here, again, he's not letting go of Ansel. He's like a fly stuck to fly paper, and Ansel cannot shake him. Vasaki down the straight. Again, we will see one of these passes. Vasaki wants the inside line, and before Ansel can even defend it, we're going to see Vasaki go and throw himself into this. He gets the move done, can even move himself over and take the right-hander from the correct racing line to not jeopardize his track exit. A nice, good bit of smart driving from Vasaki. He had pressure from drivers behind. He was trying to get the work done onto Ansel, and finally he gets the move done.
Yeah, I was just watching the likes of Wilkin as well. He managed to get past Grayling. Grayling letting him pass on the Mistral straight. I think it's pretty smart from the Lamborghini driver. He knows that the Porsche is quicker, so there's no point holding up a faster driver that you're not going to be racing for position come the end of the race. Bago Grobler in the Mercedes making a few mistakes now, going a bit too deep into a few corners. That's going to give Wilkin a very good opportunity to get past him, and Grayling as well, if Bago Grobler does not tidy up his driving at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for this Mercedes, because he's driving, we talk about driving on the limit. Bago Grobbler's going a bit over the limit at the moment, and if he's not careful, he could even get himself a drive-through penalty for track limits that, you know, maybe he hasn't really been extending, you know, in terms of gaining time, but if the system counts you as extending the track too much, it will still penalise you, and it's something that they've all got to be careful of.
Ryan, you're not wrong, and you know it's at this stage of the race that you do not want to be munching away into those warnings that you're getting, and at the same time, those tires are not going to love you pushing them as hard as you do. So Grobler here, who does seem to be making mistakes, I'm not sure that he's 100% happy with the way that his car's handling at the moment, because he does seem to just kind of be, like you said, on the edge of understeering through corners. You see the back end come out, his braking seems to be a little bit off. And here Wilkin will line himself up for a shot down the Mistral Straight, get himself that inside line. We saw Visaki do this earlier. Will Wilkin tuck himself back across for the racing line? He's got a car's length to do so and will do so. So Grobler's Mercedes not quite enjoying the straight without a toe, and Wilkin will move himself up into that 12th position. So making his way through the order, Wilkin of course being part of that incident into T1 with, I believe it was Kieran Patterson, our current third place driver. Ryan, should we do a little run through the order at the moment? I mean, there's so much action on track, but we've kind of lost slip of where things are standing.
Yeah, we have. So it's the pole sitter Jason Absmeyer that leads the race. He's got a 2.8 second gap over Keegan Masters. Interestingly enough, it was Jordan Sherritt that was in second place, but he has dropped down to fourth. So something has definitely happened while we were focusing on all the action a bit further down the field. Something has definitely happened to the likes of Sherritt, but it is Keegan Masters in second. Kieran Patterson, you did just mention, was the Porsche caught up with Wilkin into turn 1 on the first lap. He's currently sitting third, Jordan Sherritt fourth. George Wild, or Weed, I can't exactly remember how that name is.
I think it's, yeah, I think we struggled with it. I think it's Veed. I'm not sure,
Veed.
But yeah,
All
we
right,
don't know.
I'll go with Veed. The number 41 Porsche, he's in 5th place at the moment, but he is currently under pressure from the number 1 of Bruno Cadilli, who had a podium last time out at the Nürburgring, and we know how quick that Mercedes is in a straight line. The McLaren of Cap doing really well in 7th place at the moment. Francis Vogel in the Aston Martin, the first of the Aston Martins, in 8th, Vasahi in 9th, and then of course Mark Antel rounding out the top 10 in the 111 Porsche.
So the top 10 seem to have given themselves a little bit of space here. It really is those mid-pack battles where guys are fighting themselves out. Down the order, down in 21st, I see that Heinrich Hatting has got some delta splits up to the likes of Isherwood. I'm not sure if Isherwood actually made the move earlier onto Hatting here and is now getting himself past. But Grobler and his woes in this Mercedes continue. He's now got Jason Gray right on his tail. So it just looks like Grobler is just losing a lot of time to cars coming up and putting pressure on from behind. You see that car of Johannes Grayling, that Lamborghini, which we have to keep away from my co-caster Ryan Gill. He's a bit of a Lamborghini nut, and when he does see them, he tends to foam at the mouth. So we limit his time with being able to see them on screen, and that's just for being able to reserve him for the next hour and 11 minutes. Jason Gray definitely seems to be having a good run here on Johan Bago Grobler, as I said this wrong again. It's not Bago, it's Bago, like bagel, but just with an O. That's how we say it. Ryan, I misled you.
Well, thank you for the correction, George. Of course, I mean, we love to correct each other on names. It's our favourite thing to do in the world. And our second favourite thing in the world is to talk about liveries, but let's not get on to liveries. We'll be here all night. Regarding Grayling, yeah, he's got past Grobler. And just a quick thing on the Mercedes. He seems so unstable through some of the really long corners, looking more towards Busset, towards the end of the second sector. That's the really long right-hander after the Mistral Straight. So you have the Mistral Straight, then you have Cygnus, which is the fast right-hander. Then you have this really long double apex right-hander. That's the one where the Mercedes seems to be struggling a lot. It seems to close down an awful lot by most of the cars through that corner, and we can actually see Gray in the Bentley at the moment. The Bentley straight line speed, unbelievable compared to the Mercedes here today. The Bentley running really low wing. He's going to be on the outside going through Cygnus. He's not going to have space to do it, but Vigo Grobbler is going to go really wide, and that's actually going to be a track cut regardless of whether he gained time or not. The system will give him a warning for that. So that's definitely one warning that that he's going to have picked up, and he's going to make sure he doesn't do that many more times for the next hour and 9 minutes.
Well, I thought we lost our game there, but it was actually just going back and doing a replay. So, like I said, having a couple of gremlins on my side did not mean to click on the replay button for this particular thing. But this is where we'll be able to recap on Grobbler and Gray running a little bit wide, and we'll be able to just see exactly what Ryan was talking about. Yeah, that track limits is most certainly. I mean, it can be forgiving. You can run as wide as you want and come back in, as long as you come in before those little bollards, right? But if you do not yield to those little white bollard flaggy, do not cut flag things, I don't know what they're even called, track limits indicators, I like them here. They don't disappear, you know, they just pop back up. But yeah, if you do extend over those, then you get a naughty wagging. And probably here, I do believe, is really pushing those limits, Ryan. Like we see in many of these situations, drivers picking up drive-through penalties here at Paul Ricard, and I think it does kind of yield to that kind of a circuit. You know, you are often forced into situations where you don't want to just give up a position, so you kind of keep your foot planted a little bit longer than you would. And you don't have that same risk potential of not having, you know, grass or gravel or something that can make your race catastrophically end. So circuits like this do kind of, I don't want to say encourage track cutting, but they do not do a lot to put you off of, you know, extending those limits. As a driver, you have to kind of remind yourself of what you have to do. And again, Grobbler running wide and going on the outside. These limits are... Ryan, I mean, you're more of the expert here. Is Grobbler here pushing it too much?
Pushing it is putting it lightly. He is, you know, almost riding with 99% of the car over, you know, the edge of what is legal technically. You know, in the real world GT World Challenge Series, you know, going beyond those bollards once can net you a drive-through penalty. Never mind doing it 4 times before, you know, you get a drive-through. So yeah, I mean, obviously a lot more lenient here today, but he's definitely pushing the limits of what is allowed. Interesting to see, he's so good in the first sector, the first part of the lap. You know, where we have that really tight, twisty section through Hotel and Campus. He's actually really good. The Mercedes looks really comfortable compared to the Bentley. But it's the second half of the lap where the Mercedes seems to struggle.
Ryan, you have to get onto this battle with Kedili Weed and Dion Cap at the same time. Sorry, it's been brewing on camera here for a little bit, and it is getting absolutely awesome. Like, drivers giving each other room, absolutely pushing it to the limits. And Cap, that third car in the pack that you mentioned earlier, looking to pounce on free prey, a little hungry hyena. Dion Cap in that McLaren, trying to see what he can do, and it's going to be Kedili setting himself up for the inside down the Mistral Straight. Cap really does have a lot of that aero advantage. They're going to go... Are they going to go 3 wide? They're not. I mean, they almost could, or try to. George Weed doing awesomely to give enough room on the outside, and side by side they stay. A great bit of driving coming out from both drivers here, and it's always awesome to see things like this, as Cap is almost on the inside of Weed in the background there. And is Cap going to get this move done? It's not quite there. And beautiful bits of driving coming out from everyone here.
Yeah, it's amazing to see when, you know, people can go side by side so very often. But, you know, the way that Porsche closed up to Bruno Kedili's Mercedes, there's definitely the ballast is at play there. I mean, the slipstream along the Mistral Straight is incredibly good in any car. It doesn't matter whether it's an LMP, a GT, a Formula 1 car, it does not matter. You know, DRS or no DRS. But, you know, the 30 extra kilos that Bruno Kedili is carrying is significantly hampering that Mercedes on the straight, and it's noticeable as well. And it's going to be even more noticeable now as Weed gets right up behind the Mercedes. In the background, I'm actually seeing Wilkin go head-to-head with Vogel, the Aston Martin, for 8th place, and I think he probably is going to have the position sooner rather than later, as Reed is going to try and struggle. In fact, Wilkin has actually taken the position. Now he's going to be closing in on the back of Cap. But watch here with the Mercedes of Bruno Cadilli and the Porsche of George Reed as they come out of the corner onto the Mistral straight at the moment. There's a bigger gap between them this time, but you will start to see the Porsche close back up onto the Mercedes, and it's closing up so much quicker than it usually would because of those extra 30 kilos.
Oh, look at
that Mercedes.
Look at Wilkin in the background as well. He's carried momentum through. He's going to get past Cap. So if it's not someone that we're seeing other cars trying to hold their position. Cap tried to go out wide, couldn't Reed commit to another defense, and Wilkin was through. So Wilkin up into 7th place now, Ryan, all the way down from 20th where we noticed him. It could have even been a little bit further back. I mean, we only caught him on the end of the first lap where it kind of ended out. So a great bit of driving coming out from the Saka Esports driver, running with a custom livery that, of course, Wilkin's not with the custom livery. It's Patterson with the other custom livery. They're both in bright cars, both were in the same incidents. That's my bad. I couldn't even do my little segue into talking about the cool liveries that we have here. Ryan wanted to touch on it earlier, then he held back. He said we talk too much about liveries, so I'm going to hold off again. We've got an hour left here, but you definitely will notice some special liveries on cars from drivers that have submitted them through here, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, I suppose.
Yeah, we definitely will. We have to have a livery segment at least once per stream, but the pit window is open, more importantly. 45-minute pit window. Ooh, Veed has gone very, very... he's had a little bit of a moment through turn 2, and that's just allowed Wilkin to easily take a place. It's like, you know, just taking it as is, and actually Veed has actually had more problems as well now, as he's losing more places. He's allowed Cap to go through, and now Vogel's going to go side by side with him through campus. They're going to have a little bit of a touch, and that's going to allow Versailles in the Audi to close up as well. It's all going wrong for Veed at the moment, and the Porsche is starting to struggle.
I don't quite know what happened, but it seemed like a little bit of a comedy of errors. Coming out into turn 2, it seemed like he kind of bottomed out, and I saw the sparks coming off. It looked like he lost the back end, and then coming down into that right-hander, he also seemed to take a handful of curb, and I don't think that worked out for him there, as we are going to watch more slipstream effect. We can never get tired of slipstream effect. It makes for overtake. Oh, look at this Audi of Versailles here is really trying to get into the mix of these things, and on the inside, Versailles, is he going to go and do a 2-man overtake down the inside? We see a driver being lost in the background. Let's see if we can jump back 10 seconds in this. I'm not sure that the jumping back with these cars and the liveries are working 100%, but for now, maybe we shouldn't try to do this again. It was a little bit of from pillar to post as bounced off between Versailles' rear quarter panel and the right side of the grey Porsche. So, bit of a racing incident there. I don't think anyone is at fault. 3 drivers wide coming into... What is the name of that corner, Ryan? You taught me it. Bogus? Busset. It's
yes,
like the world's longest corner. It doesn't end.
It definitely feels like that, but in more important news, George,
very important.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but we talked about track limits. 2nd place, Keegan Masters has a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits on multiple occasions. It has happened. I did see the number 53 Bentley pick up a drive-through just earlier on. That has been cleared now. But yeah, 2nd place, Keegan Masters. He has pushed the limits of the track just too far and has been given a drive-through penalty. And with an hour left of the race, he can't afford to pick up 2 more warnings, or he could be facing a stop-go penalty.
I mean, this is where you need to take note that the warnings end, folks. Once you've been awarded the penalty, you are wrapped on the fingers forever for just stepping a toe out of line. So from now on out, it's all about cautious driving for Masters that needs to be done. He goes and throws the back end round as he goes and takes the move onto Masters. Onto Kaba, I believe, and that was the back marker there that just moved out of the way. So yeah, Masters going to have to go and serve his drive-through penalty, possibly going to get that out of the way sooner rather than later as he heads into the pit lane now to go and serve that. It is a long pit lane here at Paul Ricard. I'm not quite sure of the exact length of it, but I would say in meters, probably eternity meters.
It's definitely one of the longer pit lanes that we have in ACC, that is for sure. Nothing compared to Spa, of course, but that's 2 pit lanes combined into one, so kind of understandable there. But yeah, dive straight for the pit lane, probably the sensible option, get it out of the way. Just something as well, Jordan Sherritt has served his mandatory pit stop. He's down in 23rd at the moment.
Yeah, so Sherritt possibly just sort of throwing caution into the wind. He knows that he's got 50 kgs of ballast there. He wants to get to the end of the race, and for now, no point in sitting and trying to hold out and defend for some positions. Get the mandatory stop out the way and see if going into the pits early is a strategy that helps you out in the long run. You got nothing to lose. You're running with the most ballast carried over from winning the last round. So I think good move coming out from Sherritt, possibly going in there strategically to get that done. Looks like Wilkin, though, he's the man of the moment for me. I mean, he's just made his way up through the order. He's up into 3rd place, so he's got past the likes of Kadili, Cap, Vasahi, after being thrown off the track early on. And just a phenomenal bit of driving coming out. So, you know, head on the shoulders, know what you got to do, focus, and just nail those lap times that got you to the front of where that qualifying position started you. So, you know, not having the ballast issue either, you know, not needing to run with any of that at this time is also going to definitely benefit it. I mean, you can see that Kadili, Cap, and Vasahi are 3 ballast running cars, which Wilkin got on by. So, you know, I'm not going to discount the fact that, you know, they're running ballast here. This driver, Wilkin, is just, it's talent on talent.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, qualified, what was it, 3rd or 4th on the grid? I think it was 4th. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely talented. I mean, look, you know, you can add ballast onto a car as much as you like, you know, as long as it's not a ridiculously excessive amount, like 100 kilos. And, you know, cars can still have a very good fight with one another, as we see Cap in the background just at the moment closing in onto the back of Bruno Kadili, and this is definitely going to play a big part with Bruno Kadili. He's got the rather lovely black, white and red accented McLaren up behind him at the moment. Bruno Kadili running with 30 kilos of ballast, remember?
You are right, and Cap's also got some ballast for himself. So, you know, these 2 drivers are both playing with a bit of a wounded leg. But it's a bit of an iconic battle personally for me. Obviously, from my side with the White Rabbit Gaming affiliation, these are my teammates, Jason and Bruno. And of course here, Dian Cap representing a team called Kai K Racing, who's founded by a man called Tsebo Maloto, who's turned out to be a good friend of mine now in the sim racing world, and gone to form up a team and pull in a whole bunch of talented drivers. And for me here, Cap is someone that is sheer pure talent and has come out of nowhere, really. He's not been sim racing for too long, and he really just seems to have a good feel for simulators. He loves real life racing. He's a highly skilled and talented individual off the track, and right now giving Bruno a run for his money there in the McLaren. McLaren versus AMG, and Dian Cap getting the move done, coming out of Cygnus as they go into Busset, and Bruno Kadili now must chase down Dian Cap. So like I said, a bit of an iconic and special moment here for me to see these 2 drivers fighting it out on track, and definitely something for people in teams like myself and Sebo to talk about off the track. And I think that's part of racing, right, Ryan, is the community side and having everybody get involved from a more than just casual point of view, if that's what they want to do. You know, it just makes for more impressive racing for us. You got a whole team of camaraderie. Cap and Kadili are not done yet, though. Ryan, do you want to take over from me for a bit?
I can do, as they come down towards turn 1 at the moment. Cap now having to defend from Bruno Kadili after making that sensational pass through Cygnus. And can I just quickly say something? If you don't realise how incredible that pass Cap made on Bruno Kadili through Cygnus was, he's on the outside. Every single time I have seen someone try and go on the outside of Cygnus, they've either ended way off track or it's been a collision that has, you know, taken out both cars. You know, maybe I've seen 1 or 2 overtakes, you know, in all the races I've seen at Paul Ricard, real life or in the sim as well. So incredible racing at the moment, and you know, the skill required to make an overtake on that corner around the outside is incredible.
Not wrong at all. I've definitely binned it a few times trying to be as brave as that, and beautiful bit of driving coming out from Cap there indeed. And this one seems to be put on hold for just a little bit as Cap extends that lead over Kedili. We can jump down to, is Keegan Masters still in this? He is. He's, of course, fighting with George Veed. They're going side by side as well through Cygnus. And it will be Keegan Masters on the... Oh, Keegan Masters, a beautiful bit of driving, trying to do the switchback, trying to get on that inside line. George Veed getting forced out wide, going to afford him the inside low, coming into the next left-hander. But again, we've talked about this. This is respect being shown on track between drivers. This is allowing for other drivers to make some moves, make some space, and give each other a good run on track. And that just sort of translates through into the racing that we get to see as George goes wide, and that allows Keegan Masters to get the inside line. But Daniel Rowe, he's also still in this. He seems to be the man with a plan in that pink Ferrari. He keeps on trying to capitalize. A bit of contact coming down. He's tried to yield to give some space. Versace, the big winner there, he sees what's gone down. He's made a smart move to pull to the left side of the track and jumped on past that bit of minimal contact coming out, really, but there was contact nonetheless. And I think it was a little bit of trying to run in the slipstream perhaps from Rowe, but unfortunately for Weed, he's lost out quite heavily. Kreiling, that Lamborghini is going to slot on through, and good move from Kreiling to also just capitalize. And we see Krobler also in on this, Antal there too. So with 53 minutes left of racing, that mid-pack that we saw earlier on has not chilled out whatsoever. They're continuing to party, regardless of whatever they're saying about social distancing.
Yeah, definitely. So there's no social distancing going on
None.
On track at the moment here. That's definitely for sure. But of course, every driver protected inside their car, weapon of choice for this season. As we actually see Bigger Grobler coming right onto the back of Veed at the moment, coming up towards Cygnus. He's going to be beyond him. Before Cygnus, he's actually going to slot in very nicely, and he's not going to go wide on this occasion. And now it's up to, I think, is that Antel behind as well?
You're
now?
right,
Yes, it is.
yeah. Antel here.
He's going to be looking to get past Veed as well. Veed is really starting to struggle now since those mistakes that we saw a few laps ago.
Yeah, we saw those things starting to sort of peel off, and wondered, you know, is this sort of something to do with the car? Is he struggling with the setup? Is it just a bit of a mindset thing, losing focus? And I think when cars are moving past, you know, and trying to make moves, on the inside, trying to send a big send coming out from Antel, and that's just a big dive bomb. He's tried to make the move, I believe, onto the car in front. Oh, there's just chaos going down on the street. Veed has lost it down. There's another, is that Jason Gray? That's also, no, it's not Jason Gray that had spun himself around. Ryan, just chaos coming down after the final corner into lap 16, or the end of lap 16. I'm not quite sure who really made the biggest mistake there, but I definitely know that the big send coming down from Antel in that Porsche would have been a no-no from the stewards when they have a look into that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was, I mean, you know, it was obvious that he was trying to get, you know, the overtake done on Veed. Maybe went a bit too deep. Well, I mean, not a bit too deep. He did go too deep, you know, and that's for sure. And he took out Bigger Grobler as well. In all of that, you know, the number 15 Mercedes that has been dropping positions left, right, and centre so far this race can't catch a break. Now he's potentially under threat as well from 2 Ferraris behind. So yeah, he's definitely got some troubles here as well. And yeah, I don't think Antel's going to be in the good books with stewards either. But something you mentioned earlier about, you know, was it Visahi managing to avoid an incident and gain 2 positions? Perception is such an important skill in real-world racing and in sim racing as well. And it's not a skill that gets talked about often enough. I always mention it whenever I'm doing streams of ACC public lobbies and all sorts of stuff, I always say that your ability to perceive an accident in front of you and avoid it is just as important as having the skill to overtake people.
Definitely not something that gets talked about enough, and I think half the incidents that we see being reported tend to be where people have seen a dive even coming for themselves, but still continued to feel like them putting their car in their way is going to save them a position. As we're just going to watch Sennerin and Strauss battle it out whilst we talk about this topic. But that ability to stay out of trouble and find yourself in a little bit of free air because other people have got caught up is just such a great skill. Even just the ability to find a space and navigate it. Strauss going to want to have a little send on the inside. Sennerin does not want to give it up, but they are going to stay respectfully side by side as Strauss going to just tuck into the pits. He's going to serve his mandatory stop. He doesn't want any more of this. Von Mansberg, he does though. He saw Strauss was making the space, and he's decided to just replace that Strauss position with himself and Von Mansberg here. And Sennerin, this is the battle for 14th and 15th. 15th for Van Mansberg, the current car that we are looking at the moment, the Porsche, colored in black, orange, and white. And of course, Sennerin's Bentley, the Bentley Blue, has it always appeals to me. I always talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it here. It just makes me excited. That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah, the Bentley car. I mean, the Bentley car looks great in any colour.
No, it does not. It does not. You're wrong. I hate that you've said that here on the stream. We have to edit that out somehow. The Porsche looks great in any color. It doesn't matter what you do, as they go side by side. And I'm hoping here that the Porsche comes out on top just to prove a point. But the Bentley is definitely giving the drag race to the Porsche as they stay side by side down the Mistel Straight. And it looks like the Bentley going to have that inside line. It's going to be a big loss for that Porsche, as you see Jordan Sherritt getting all the way onto the back of Van Mansberg, who made a big mistake. And Jordan Sherritt obviously taking his pits. He's trying to make his way back through the order again. He just wants to try and gap as many cars as he can, not get held up in traffic, because for him, that early pit stop is all about him being able to have a good race with a decent pace. And here, you can just see how later Jordan brakes than everyone else. He's such a talented driver. I've had some things to say in the past, but the past is the past. Jordan Sherritt is really come in to show that in sim racing there's some interesting moves that can be done. He sometimes pushes the limit, and sometimes that's a little bit what I like about him. He's a bit of a loose. He's a bit like a Max Verstappen in the early days, but with some time and tender care and some more seat time in the sim side as opposed to the real life driving side. I mean, he comes over from the real life driving side. Definitely a force to be reckoned with, a radio force to be reckoned with. So yeah, I like to see that little transformation over, and I hope to see more real life drivers just stick to it, not just have a bit of a COVID bubble around it. Ryan, I also just want to take a little chance to just shout out to our chat. Of course, all of our drivers appreciate all of the viewers that come through to support and yell their favorite drivers' names. So shout out to our chat. I can see some latest messages here coming through. Yuri Adsmer, that's Jason's dad. He's asking, how's the rig? That there is just a gesture of amazingness, and here publicly I can definitely thank Jason for what he did. He gifted me his second-hand or rig that he was finished with as he got upgraded, and he just kind of passed it my way, came and helped me set it up and get me sorted out. So Ryan, you have to be fearful now. I'm a professional sim racer with a rig. Before I was racing trucker style, and right now I need to get out of the comms box. I need to become a driver, right? Is that how it works?
I mean, look, this is something that was talked about, not too long ago on a very popular podcast, Race Department podcast. Which, if you haven't ever listened to that, it's definitely worth a listen. Not being paid to promote that, but yeah, sim racing is for everyone. It really is. The only people that sim racing is not for is the people hoping to capitalize on it in a very shady way. Those people, move on. This is not for you. But for anyone else, whether it's commentary, broadcaster, stewarding, racer doesn't matter, even as part of the audience. Sim racing, you know, it is for everyone, and you know, kind of just like real world motorsport is as well. But sim racing is obviously a lot more approachable because of the virtual element that it has. And something that Jesse Lee said the other day, which really, really resounded with me on one of the RCI streams: sim racing is family. And obviously, the gesture that you said about, you know, Jason gifting you is you know, his rig that he's not using anymore. That to me is a perfect example of, you know, sim racing is family. It is community. It is people working together, you know, cooperatively and helping each other as well. And you know that's an amazing gesture. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, George, now with this you know, proper sim rig, now that you're a bit up to speed, maybe I'll start to see some podiums from you coming from the next few races that you're going to be doing. I'll be looking forward to it.
I mean, I don't want to promise anything, but you know, I'm definitely more comfortable after my little upgrade gifted to me from Jason. And like you said, sim racing is family, and even from me and from your side, I mean, our interactions have been over the internet. We met doing some commentary for an old community that dissolved now, and we reformed into doing something else with Racing Club International. And it's so cool. I can just message you up and be like, hey man, can you jump over and do some local sim racing with me? Because, you know, on my end of the pond, this is what we do. You know, we have our own little leagues that we're trying to do and integrate drivers over into the European leagues and try and get as many drivers driving in the same thing as possible. Because to me, that's where things get a little bit hazy, right? Who's the top sim racer in the world? How do you dictate that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's just the variables that are involved in it are like, well, you could talk about a specific sim, and then if you are going to do that, then it's quite clear. You can go and determine who's the best in every sim. But then would you know, is there a series one day that will come out that will sort of align everybody to doing something else? So it's you're 100% right with I just think that the family side is important, growing it's important, and I'm glad that I could reach out and you could join me here today, and we can get to halfway into the race here, as we've been a little bit sidetracked by our chats, but it's always good to have our little podcast session in the RaceFace stream. It's something that we always get to talk about.
Yeah, and it is always great. It's great to talk about stuff when things do quiet down a bit. But something that did happen, I didn't want to interrupt that lovely bit of conversation we were having. But Sherritt picked up a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits, and that has meant that he's had to come into the pit lane to serve that. He has now served that. He's dropped back down to 15th. So for the second week in a row, we see Sherritt picking up a drive-through penalty, and now he's got to go 41 minutes of the race without picking up any more.
Ryan, I'm glad that you brought it back up, because it was something that I had not seen happen live. The lovely chat were the people that alerted me to it, and I'm glad that you were also paying enough attention to see who we were keeping an eye on. And Sherritt, I talked about him earlier, you know, a rising star in the sim racing side of things, and you know that this is something that I said, you know, maybe a little bit torpedo-ish, and sometimes the torpedo has to stay on the black stuff the entire duration of the race. And unfortunately, Sherritt's, you know, exceeded. He's gone and he served his penalty. He knows he's got pace, and you know, 15th will not be where he finishes this in 40 minutes. I feel like I can say I can guarantee you that. But with my commentator's curse luck, I'm not saying it. I'm just going to leave it like I did say it, but didn't. Does it work like that? Can I do that?
Well, one thing I'm just gonna say is, it's a good thing we don't have Jesse Lee here tonight, because if not, I'm pretty sure half the grid would have DNFs by now. So just to quickly, to quickly point out on that, but yeah, Sherritt he'll be higher up than that for sure, come the end of the race, and in fact, I think he might even be gaining a few places now, with a couple of people jumping into pit lane, seeing Patterson and Janssen jump into the pit lane, so that should mean that he should jump up into those positions. In fact, he's jumped up to 11th, so yeah, he's definitely going to be higher than 15th for sure. But yeah, one of the things you touched on earlier about sim racing and how do you decide who is the best sim racer, it's personally, I think it's impossible to tell, as I've just noticed Cornet Strauss has picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits. We're starting to see all the warnings now materialize into penalties.
I can give a little bit of. I mean, there's certain drivers in this league that I know on a better basis than others. You know, I know people from a sim racing point of view. I happen to know Cornet Strauss quite well. He happened to come to the Kyle Army 9 hour with us last year. It was like a meetup. We kind of met sim racers at the actual 9 hour. It was fantastic. And Strauss was one of these people that I got to meet up with. I can tell you right now, Ryan, this man will be so upset with that drive-through penalty. The words coming out of his mouth will be like listening to you when you're upset in a Call of Duty match.
Well, I don't get upset often in a Call of Duty match, but when it does happen, fortunately, I have someone like you, George, or Shani to cheer me up, as Cornet Strauss has now cleared the drive-through penalty. And we only have a few more people still requiring a pit stop. We have one of the lovely Lexus cars, which has just come into the pit lane now that I've mentioned it. King has come into the pit lane. It's number 22.
I mean, now, is this the time that we can talk about liveries with looking at Bernard King's Lexus? No, okay, we can't do. Wait, we can't. When he gets out of the pits, because right now it's parked behind him. We can't. Okay, livery talk and custom liveries in the game will be coming out in just a bit. I'm going to put that one on ice for a little bit because it's interesting. It's an interesting talk to have, and I do want to have a little bit of a segue into it. So, Ryan, I like that you mentioned these pit stops. We see Masters and Kraling are members in the top 5 that haven't pitted going into the pits. So that's going to be Van Mansberg, Sienerin, and Absmeyer to still go in that top 5. And then we've got Jason Isherwood down in 15th place still to go into the pits. And of course, then we've got Gerber, who is actually going into the pits already, going to serve his pit stop. So for now, with 17 minutes left of the pit window, it does look like most of the drivers have elected to go in a little bit earlier. I mean, we've seen some of the strategies come out where, half the grid waited till earlier, later. This was more of like a conscious decision from everybody that get the pit stop done, well before the end of the pit window. It looks like Jason is going to be left to maybe push the limits and see what he can do in the fresh air. As we watch him, he's actually going to go into the pit lane. So it does look like an early pit stop for everybody here today.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, is that, leaving it till later is not always the best decision to do. It depends on track, and it depends on length of the race and all sorts of different variables that you would put together a pit stop strategy. But yeah, most people definitely favouring an earlier pit stop than a later pit stop, as Jason Absmeyer has stopped on his marks for his pit stop at the moment. I think Von Mansberg and Isherwood are the only 2 left that have not served a mandatory pit stop. And Isherwood was actually one of the cars that received a drive-through penalty earlier on in the race for exceeding track limits. So that car is going to drop further down the order once the mandatory pit stop is being served for that number 53, as Jason Absmeyer is rolling again, and he's coming towards the end of the pit lane now, or actually he's in the second half of the pit lane, and comes out towards, talking about tracks for a second here, as I just see Antel pick up a drive-through penalty as well for track limits. Add another one to the counter. If you're taking a shot for every track limit or drive-through that's put out today, you're going to be taking a lot of shots, that's for sure. But
you just play that GTA wasted sound if that's the game. So Ansel going to dive into the pits to serve his drive-through penalty, and these are you kick yourself for things that you're doing. This drive-through is it's so sad because whilst you're on this pit limiter, you can hear the sound of shame roaring down the start-finish straight next to you. So Ansel here will be licking wounds as he kind of cruises through there, not going to be happy with what he's done. Masters and Wilkin on track for battling for position. This is the battle for second, both of them currently in the podium slots. Wilkin currently holds down third in that green Sarko Esports Porsche. Masters in the pink GeForce Sim Porsche. So it's Porsche on Porsche action. Actually, our top 4 at the moment are all Porsches if you look at our timing totem. And then it's a McLaren, Mercedes, Audi, Porsche. I wanted to say, no, it's not. It's Audi, Ferrari. Daniel Rowe has upset things there and slotted a Ferrari into the top 10. And then we have a Lamborghini as well. So the Italians holding up the bottom of the top 10. Ryan will be cheering, so I don't have to get him foaming at the mouth again. But your cars are here, Ryan. They're holding on. The Porsches are there, but your cars are still in the top 10.
Yeah, it's always nice to see. I mean, obviously the Lamborghini is not a very common car in ACC, very much like the McLaren as well. And it's always nice to see these cars when they do come out, to see them do well, because they're not the common picks. I mean, the Lamborghini. Look, I'm a Lamborghini fan. I will put my hands up. I'm 100% guilty, as I've just seen Sunarain get a drive-through penalty as well for track limits, so play another wasted shot on me. But yeah, the Lamborghini, I'll put my hands up and I'll say, yeah, I'm a big Lamborghini fan, just like George is the biggest Porsche fanboy ever.
Did Ansel just get another drive-through?
Did he?
I'm pretty sure Ansel just got another drive-through. He just cleared it on the previous lap. Remember I talked about the drive of shame? Like, I think he just got it on the lap. He just came out. Look at him. He's so disgusted with himself. He can't believe it. He's staying out. He's not going in. He's hoping that the game stewards are like, whoops, wrong car. We applied it to the wrong car. Clear number 111. But that's not the case. Ansel, you're going to have to go back in. There are no more warnings remaining after you've got your warnings, you've served your first penalty. From there on out, it is a problem.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what will be even worse is that the third time he receives a penalty, he won't be receiving a drive-through. He'll be getting something that is much, much worse, and that's a 30-second stop-go penalty. And once you get one of those, if you've ever had to serve a 30-second stop-go penalty, you feel like parking the car in the pit lane and just going home. It's a horrible feeling, and especially at a track with a much longer pit lane. I mean, if you think, even at a shorter track, it can put you a lap down. If you get a 30-second stop go at Laguna Seca or Brands Hatch, you're a lap down. You are an entire lap down because of how quick a lap is around those circuits as Sunarain comes into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty. But quickly, just to finish my point on the Lamborghini, if I can get it out, is that, you don't see them too often. I'm a big fanboy of them, just like George is a big fanboy of Porsches. But the Lamborghini is a very good car. You can get it set up right, and you're a very good driver. It has the pace at so many tracks.
Those are two variables I do not have.
Well, it's two variables that I don't have either, but it's something that I'll mention. Look at the Real World GT World Challenge Series. Which car won both the Sprint and Endurance Championships in 2019? The Lamborghini. And quite dominant as well. The FFF Lamborghini team, they were always up there towards the front of the field, and that's something that, can never be understated or underestimated, is the fact that, the BOP rules are very, very strict in GT3, so it's hard to do that, to constantly be at the front of the field. But the Lamborghini doesn't. And it's something that you can't ignore, is that in the right hands, with the right setup, the Lamborghini is a monster. But the problem is, the people that can drive it like that, and the people that can set it up and that, are few and far between.
You basically need a NASA rocket scientist to be your sim racing engineer, and then it's a good car. So I like that kind of advice. If you've got a NASA engineer, then that's where you need to go. No, I'm just I'm just kidding. I give you rubbish for your love of them. I love them. if I had the choice to have a real life supercar, I don't think that I would call a Porsche supercar to me like a GT3. Like, I would love to have one of those, but I think that a Lambo's got some swag to it. So, you know, I give them a lot of stick. But to be honest, you know, I'm a secret Batmobile lover. If you don't like the event at all, then you do not deserve a place in my heart either. That is.
Yeah, it's actually something I had just to put us back into conversation corner for a minute. It's actually something that I had spoken about to someone fairly recently, which is that, you know, my dad is a big fan of Porsches. George would be glad to know. But the thing is, I said to him, is that a Porsche is, you know, the 911 GT3 RS it's an incredible car, hands down, one of the best GT cars ever made. Period. I'll put it out there now, just so everyone knows. It's on the table. I'm not a Porsche hater. However, it doesn't have the wow factor that a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a Corvette has. When you see one of those cars on the street, heads turn immediately. You know, it's one of the brands that has that wow factor.
Koenigsegg.
Koenigsegg, Bugatti, you know,
yeah.
These cars, they're so infamous. The look of the cars, you know, they're so infamous, and that's one of the things that the Porsche brand just doesn't have, and there's nothing wrong with that inherently, because Porsche don't target that market in a sense. You know, they target a very different market. But when it comes down to, if you want to impress people and you want people to look, the Porsche is not the car for you. The car for you is a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, you know, a Koenigsegg, something along those line of cars is something for you, because they have that wow factor. But you see them on the street, and your first instinct is either you keep looking at it, or you're getting your phone out to take a picture of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel you. I to be honest, like, on that front, I don't care about impressing people with it. I think that a GT3, a Porsche, for me would be like such a cool. I'm not even going to throw it out to the universe, because Porsche still has not reached out to me to tell me to come and pick my car up. We're going to just watch Rowe and Kreiling doing some on-track action to take us back out of conversation corner and back out to Paul Ricard. It's just gone 5:10 in the afternoon here at the French circuit. It's a nice warm 24 degrees out ambient, and on the asphalt it will measure 30 degrees. So these tires are going to be in a happy place. It's not the scorching temperatures that potentially could be out here, and that's not what you want with such a fast track. You'll be munching through your tires at that rate. So at this point, I think track conditions definitely going to be enjoyed by the drivers and going to allow them to push the cars to the limits they're intended to be, as we continue to watch Rowe and Kreiling. Of course, we're watching from the rear-facing spoiler cam of Daniel Rowe's Ferrari, as Kreiling is just literally trying to find that smallest gap opportunity to make his move. For now, he's just going to play it safe and hold off. But I do like that we've got our little Italian stallion battle going down for 9th and 10th. Do we have any more battle on track? Because Masters and Wilkin, I want to say, do we? I know that we do. It's always going to be Masters and Wilkin at this point. They've really been throwing it out together. And again, it's that respect coming out from the drivers that we talk about. You know, having that respect for the other driver, making sure to give each other room. That's exactly what these two have done, and that's what's allowed them to stay where they are with 26 minutes of racing remaining. It's really great to see the respect levels that have come out, and they've sort of traded back and forth. Masters still holds on to second. Wilkin really wants to better his position there on the podium. I think you get a nicer trophy and maybe a better... I'm not big into alcohol, Ryan. Do you get different champagne for first, second, or third, or do they all get the same size bottle?
I would assume it's all the same size bottle.
Okay.
I've ever been on the podium to experience
that
kind of feeling.
I thought, with your talents, Ryan, I thought that that would have been an experience you could have told me from the heart.
Oh well, George, I gotta be honest. It's been a long time since I've stood on the podium in a competitive scene. Public lobbies is a bit different. The champagne's not as sweet in public lobbies because you earn half of your places by people just, you know, being turn one heroes.
You taste victory with surviving. I understand that.
Yeah, definitely. In the competitive scene, it's been a while since I've tasted the champagne. It was actually a second place at Brands Hatch. I remember it now. In the ACR AM League, before I moved up to the Pro League, I did have a Brands Hatch podium. That was a very memorable race for me. I'll share that story another time because there is a good story behind it.
I mean, we've got plenty of conversation corners that are afforded to us. So, you know, when those kind of stories come out, ACR, for those that don't know, is Actual Visions Racing League. One of the coolest commentators that I look up to, for sure. I love his production value and really just love the way that he does his entire streaming. I don't even know how to say it, like his organizational side from his Discord and the way that races are done. And it's really, if you haven't watched an Actual Vision race stream, maybe don't go watch them straight away after this, because I might not see you back here. Ryan and I will have to work extra hard. We'll have to do some performance singing or something to try and lure you back. But he really is a talented guy. And yeah, I mean, I raced in the Actual Vision League once. It was the hardest experience of my life. Some extremely talented drivers there. And definitely the problem with ACR is the love of weather and my inability with my bad eyesight to be able to see in the monsoon rain conditions that I experienced.
Monsoon rain conditions. We're gonna have loads of conversation corner at this rate because I've got many stories about that. In fact, that does tie into my Brands Hatch story as well. Yeah, ACR, incredible. I've had the privilege of knowing a bit about the back end of ACR because when the community that we formerly used to do commentary with disbanded, I was approached by ACR to join them as a secondary broadcaster and commentator. I did unfortunately have to turn down the position because I wanted to continue working with people like George on a regular basis, and unfortunately, you know, ACR would not have allowed me to do that because of how busy they are. They literally have a race on every night. It's absolutely crazy, but I've had the privilege of seeing some of the back end that goes on at the ACR website and the Discord, and it's phenomenal. You know, it really, really is next level stuff, and the amount of work that Luke has put into that community is outstanding, and he deserves so much praise for it. As I'm actually seeing Masters come out of sickness, as he's made a massive mistake, and that's going to make it easy pickings for Wilkin to go through Bousset and take that second place that Wilkin has been craving for since he went off at turn one at the very start of the race. And let's just quickly mention something. If there was a Driver of the Day award, it has to go to Wilkin.
I mean, I don't know. Does it go to Wilkin or does it go to Sherritt? Because at this point, I mean, Sherritt's been down the order all like 4 times, serving drive-through penalties. Plus, he's driving around with 50 kgs of ballast. And he's back up into 16th place. I do not know where the pace is coming from in the Saudi, but Jordan Sherritt is really giving these drivers a run for their money. At the moment, it will be Bruno and Jordan to see who comes out on top. It looks like Jordan at the moment is holding off Bruno. But Bruno, definitely in that AMG. We've seen what it does on the straights. In my testing with it, it didn't seem to do the greatest, but that might have also been to do with my aero side. Sherritt just seems to have an absolute rocket ship attached to the Saudi, though.
Oh yeah, the Audi is very, very good. I mean, it's often in the SRA series, there are so many people that complain about the Audi and the Porsche as the 2 big cars. You know, they are the 2 OP in quotation mark cars that keep, you know, that's the terminology that keeps getting used fairly frequently.
The terminology that the youth are throwing around in the forums.
Yeah, for sure. But the Audi is a very good car. It has changed a lot over the last 3 months. 3 months ago, I could barely drive the Audi. I hated it. Now, it's a joy to drive. It really, really is. And someone, Fabian Schwindberger, who a few people in the chat might know, is the fact that he loves the Audi. but he fell out of love with it about 3 months ago after the RLM Season 2 Championship. Didn't do quite well with it, fell out of love with it. Tried it last week, and he's just said to me that he'd be glad to do an endurance race in it. So, yeah, he's rediscovered his love of Audi, and I can definitely say that it's a car that I have, well, it's grown on me, should we say, over the past couple of weeks, and I've just realised that Braylink has received a drive-through penalty for track limits, so take another shot at home for those that are still keeping count.
Yeah, if you're still playing the drive-through penalty shot game with Ryan Gill from, where are you from, Ryan? What is your? If I was to say Ryan, what is your call sign? Are you Ryan of Twitch? Are you Ryan of YouTube? Are you just Ryan of the Hill?
Ryan of the Hill. That's a new one on me. I've never heard that one before, but I don't know, kind of like it. I would probably just say, you know, the most notable place the most notable place people did know me from is now technically gone. So I'll
I mean, you're allowed to say Redline Motorsport. Yeah, I don't ban. I don't ban the word.
That's formally what I'm known as. I'm formally, you know, Ryan from Redline Motorsport. Now probably moving on a bit further with the with my own, you know, Twitch brand and that, Ryan the Combox, and stuff like that. So, you know, if you want to refer to me as that, or if you want to refer to me as Ryan Gill from RCI, that works as well, because obviously working heavily with RCI with all the media production and stuff like that, which I've got to tell you, the amount of work that is going in behind the scenes at RCI, not just from my perspective, but from other people's perspective as well, is absolutely incredible. And we'll have a lot of news about stuff soon, but I don't want to mention that because we're not in an RCI broadcast, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But
I mean, it's part of where you come from, and it's where I met you from, and you know, these drivers here will be racing in RCI things, and it's you know, mass integration, family, community, sim racing, love, racing, motorsports. It's all part of what we do here and what we love to do. I think it's allowed us to now talk about a little bit of the livery side of things that you guys might have noticed. You see Charles Wilkins' bright green Porsche obviously hunting down at the back of King's Lexus. That's a Lexus, right? You've not seen a Lexus that looks like that. Let's just try and see if I can switch my camera angle over to King's Lexus so that we can open up with our conversational piece. So obviously King here for Rad Racers has gone and worked on the custom livery side of things that was made available here with RaceFace's League for this round. And I think inspired by a lot about what maybe has been done by other drivers in terms of what they're showcasing. I love the fact that RaceFace has opened up the opportunity for guys to run these liveries, to put them in, and then see what happens when we run a big race and stream it. You know, will it have performance issues? Can we evaluate it? But I mean, we talked about it. Just it stands out, right, Ryan? It's different because it's something we've never seen in this game. It's like, what car is that? Oh, it's a Lexus. I've not seen a paint job like that, and that just, you know, it stands out. And just on that same topic, you know, you can see Gaber's Porsche also a custom livery. We'll jump to that one in a bit, but give me some thoughts on the custom liveries that RaceFace has here, and, you know, maybe some of the paint jobs. You know, are you fans? Have you seen things that you like?
Well, you know, anyone who's watched the previous RLM broadcasts or any of the current RCI broadcasts will know that, you know, commentators love to talk liveries, and I love to talk liveries just as much as George and Jesse Lee and all the other commentators love to talk liveries. And this livery from Bernard King is hands down. I'm gonna put all the cards down on the table right now. One of the best custom liveries I have ever seen in sim racing. It's absolutely incredible. The nice metallic red. I'm usually not a big fan of metallic, but it's actually really well done here. The nice metallic finish, the silverish chrome as well, used as an accent, is very, very nice here as well. And I think the sponsor, the Zent branding on the side as well, is really, really nice. I think it fits together really, really well. And of course, a big shout out to the number 51 Porsche as well, which is running the McLaren 720S livery on a Porsche 911 GT3, which very, very cool. Big fan of McLaren, as George has already mentioned, so really nice seeing that livery on there. But
And I
No,
mean,
George.
you knew I was going to jump in because I want to talk about Patterson's Porsche, because this thing is flavored like the 2018 non-second version of this car, right? I can't remember what the actual is. The team. Can't remember what the team name is, but I do remember that this Porsche was my Porsche that I picked in this game. Essentially, not this exact livery. Obviously, Patterson's worked on his own color schemes, but definitely feels inspired by it. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about, Ryan.
Patterson, would that be the number 65? Yeah. Oh, actually, yes. I do know which livery you're talking about. It's the Belgian livery, isn't it, for the Porsche Cup car?
No.
Is it not?
No. Are you looking at the number 1, 2, 3?
Ah, the 1, 2, 3. You said Patterson, so I thought.
The other Patterson is 2. One is Allen, and then you are right. That one, that pink one, is that livery. But
this is the GT3 Porsche that ran at the Nordschleife.
yes, but this is not. I mean, this is obviously just the livery from it, right? But just it's still the 9112 2019 version of the Porsche. So, you know, that color scheme on that original Porsche in the sim was one of the reasons that I love to run that car. It stood out in lobbies, and it's to me it's cool to just see that guys are, you know, pushing the limits and running with some custom liveries on their cars. I want to see if we can find some other ones that guys have done here as well. Obviously, it's open for guys to submit, and hopefully in the next couple of races we'll see more. But of course, the Team Tryhard guys, they had a whole livery reveal that they did on YouTube. I loved it. I love guys putting that kind of thing in. Teamwork, making the dream work, getting your team image out there, making some branding. You know, you don't have to be the top of the pops, but if you you pop and you've got the right people knowing and noticing things, it goes a long way. It's important to have some kind of brand unity and start to affiliate yourself with a set design package that, you know, when people see it, they can just pick it up instantaneously and know who you are and who you drive for, and it's all about that image. You know, if I show you a picture of a notable Formula One team and you're a Formula One fan, you instantaneously know what that car is, not just because of some of the finer details, but, you know, mostly because of the identifiable imagery that their brand entails. So I think that's what's important about this kind of thing. So I'm going to see if we can find any more. So there's Alan Patterson's. I love it. Like you said, I think it is the Porsche Cup livery on a non-Cup car. Even a space for the lights at the front. The little
George, I really don't mean to interrupt you, but you need to get your camera on Masters and Wilkin right now.
It's here. I got you. We're already there.
This is absolutely unbelievable what I'm seeing here. I think they were going side by side for the entire third sector just a moment ago. This battle is nowhere near finished with 11 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, and I tell you what, these two are literally gonna give it everything for the last 11 minutes, and it's something we do often see in GT3 racing, isn't it? The last 15 minutes, everything comes together. Everything comes to a close, and you start to see fantastic racing, and this is one of them right now. Look as we come out of the corner onto the Mistral straight now. Masters is going to have the slipstream on Wilkin. He's going to be brought right up to the back of that car. See how Wilkin moves to the left-hand side of the track? He's trying to lose the slipstream. Now he moves back to the right. It's one of these tactics that, you know, real-life racers and sim racers employ to try and lose the slipstream and make sure that the car behind has as difficult a time as possible closing up to the back of you. Masters is going to close up to the back there. He's going to be on the outside. He's not going to commit to it, though. I did mention how difficult it is to go around the outside of Cygnus, but now coming into Bousset, he's going to have the inside line, and Wilkin is going to go wide, but they're going to go side by side through the second half of Bousset again. Now Wilkin's going to have the inside as they come back around for this really tight left-hander. This left-hander is much tighter than you give it credit for when you first come across it. And Wilkin does stay in front, but this is going to be unbelievable if they can stay like this for the next 10 minutes.
Masterful bits of driving. We talked about them earlier as well. Just giving each other that respect on track as well. Masters trying to slap up the inside, and Wilkin getting a better exit out is going to love the fact that the edge of traction was broken from that pink Porsche. That's going to allow him to get a couple of car lengths coming into T1. But Masters, I don't want to work on the puns, but a master of the brakes, it feels like. He manages to just get onto the tail end of that Porsche in front, oh so masterfully and gracefully at the same time. And Wilkin now does have those few car lengths, but those affordabilities don't last long. Wilkin, through this section specifically, through Hotel, he just didn't look like he's got the right line at the moment to be attacking it, whereas Masters does feel like he's permanently on the attack.
Yeah, he does, and of course this is an advantage to Masters as well, as that he knows that, he loses a bit of time maybe in the first sector, but it doesn't matter because he'll gain it all back on the straight. And you can see that now as he's closing back up onto Wilkin again, and Wilkin again is going to have to commit to one side of the track. He's going to commit to the inside line. He's going to make it as difficult as possible for Masters here again. As Masters pulls out to the left, he's going to have a look. Not going to commit to it. He's going to come back to try and switch back, but there's not going to be the room. And unfortunately, it's come off worse for Masters. He's going to have to lose a lot of time there. And actually, in fact, I think he will. Yes, he will. He lose a place to Patterson as well, I think. So, unfortunately for Masters, I think he's going to come off, or he is going to come off much, much worse than Wilkin. Not entirely sure there was anyone at fault there. Probably more of a racing incident as well. I mean, Wilkin held his line, and I think Masters cut in a bit too early for the switchback. As, I did mention track limits before for the number 15 Mercedes. Finally picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits. So, if you're still counting at home, there's another one to add to the tally.
I mean, I've lost count at this point, and I think that Bego Krobler getting one quite late after what his initial stint started to look like at the start of that race. I mean, it did feel like he was pushing the boundaries from the get-go. To only be awarded it here within the last 8 minutes mean that he may have used up all of his opportunities early on, and then finally with 8 minutes to go has unfortunately picked one of those up. So we'll be jumping in to serve that. That will not help out his 13th place that he currently holds on. But for now, it looks like Masters trying to just get his way back up towards that battle he was having with Wilkin. He's got Patterson between him. He's not quite there on Patterson. He's got Gabber putting on pressure from behind. I believe Gabber's running in 25th at the moment, so he's trying to unlap himself here from Masters. Masters feeling a bit of the pressure. Gabber going to be using that slipstream that he can get. But for our front runners, it's been an interesting battle for second and third. Jason Absmeyer been a bit uncontested up in first. A phenomenal race coming out from him, and the White Rabbit fan will definitely be loving the results so far. With 7 minutes to go, just needs to pilot it to the line. Charles Wilkin, after scrapping with Masters for what felt like an eternity and giving each other just the most graceful amounts of space and allowing for us to have some great on-track battles, has awarded himself second place after holding on a little bit longer. Masters obviously coming into a bit of contact and has dropped down to fourth, with Kieran Patterson separating them in third. Jordan Sherritt, he sits in fifth place in that Audi, a man that has served the drive-throughs and of course made his way back up through the order. Was it 2 drive-throughs that Jordan served today, or was it just 1?
Sherritt, I think, has served only 1, as far as I remember. I know Corne Strauss has served 2.
Ansel served... Ansel served 2 for sure.
Isherwood has also served 2.
Yeah,
Grayling has served 1. Grobler has served 1. Sherritt 1. And I think that's... have we covered everyone?
Probably not. I mean, Bruno Kidili, he's got himself 6th place at the moment. Dan Cap for Kake in the number 321 in 7th place. Arno Visachi for the Retro Sim Slipstream team is currently in 8th place. Daniel Rowe in 9th, and 10th place for Jason Gray. So Retro Sim definitely having a good day out today as well, having two cars in the top 10, albeit for different counted teams within the team. If that's anything to go with in terms of the livery names, I mean, that could have just been the way they named. I need to find out a little bit more in terms of getting some more team info from Batters, but we're working on the stats. I can tell you guys that so far, most wins in RaceFace coming up to this round so far have been awarded to Morgan McCall, our man that is sitting second in the championship, but not here this evening, unfortunately, sixth. So just sending him our thoughts and hoping he gets better on that front. He's got 3 wins, Bruno with 1, Jordan Sherritt with 1, Kieran Patterson with 1. The most pole positions in terms of the starts, we've got a tie. We've had no one getting more than a single pole position other than this time around, which would be Jason getting a second pole for this round. But coming into it, we've had poles from Cadiel, McCall, Wilkin, Schumann, Sherritt, and of course Jason Abs might pick up his second tonight. So just a couple of stats there provided by Bertus Hugo from RaceFace. I do appreciate being able to let you guys know some of the finite numbers that we get out of this. I would love to find out one day how many kilometers we've covered over the season if we combine everybody's cars together and all the laps that they've completed. You know, like at the end of the season, we have done XXXX number of kilometers of GT3 racing on track, thanks to all our competitors. You know, that's a stat that I want. But 4 minutes left of racing, Ryan. It's been it feels like it's just flown by. I can't believe we're coming down into the last 4 minutes. And, you know, can you spot anything that on track is for position that you would like us to have a little look at? Krayling and Veed, I believe, in 11th and 12th. They're pretty close together as they're coming into the final corner now. Krayling no, they're not coming into, they are. So Veed going to have the inside line. Krayling getting such a good run out as well. Going to be able to tuck again behind that Nardo Grey Porsche and just capitalize on that hole in the air being punched out down the start from the straight.
Yeah, Grayling trying to put as much pressure on Veed as he can, and Veed, of course, is someone who's just been losing places throughout the entire race and slow out of the second corner.
That's what he did. Do you remember that's what happened when he was... he did that same thing. It's like he bottoms out and then he can't get the traction down. And it's allowed Krayling to get a nose in. This means that they have to dance side by side. But Krayling with, oh, what a line. What a run coming out from Krayling. He sends it, he throws it. And a beautiful, masterful bit of driving coming out from the Lamborghini as he takes the position off of the Porsche. Just like that, with 2 minutes left to go, it will be the hunt down from George Weed to fight back for that position. He was just... I don't want to even say robbed of. It was great work by the Lambo, but look at the straights, look at the aero. On the outside, the Porsche will go. Krayling looks like he's struggling to just hold it off. He's trying to squeeze himself as much room as possible here and going to force George Weed to go outside and yield the position. Good bit of defensive work to hold on to, a position that you've taken before the Mistral Straight, which is generally... where if someone's right on your aero, they're able to get past you again.
Yeah, incredible bit of overtaking done by Grayling. That switchback was incredibly well executed. You could see him lining it up as soon as Veed was back in front of him, and then of course defending down the Mistral Straight. Very, very well done into Cygnus as well for both of them going side by side, but Grayling has come out on top. Just a quick...
Ryan... Before you quick, okay? Patterson and Masters could be the fight for third. Okay, you can go quick now.
I was just going to say, you mentioned Bertus Hugo supplying some stats for you. I'm currently watching Patterson and Masters side by side going towards Cygnus as Jason Absmeyer does begin the final lap of the race. The stats that get provided to commentators, it makes our job easier and it allows us to provide more to the audience at home. And I actually had a family member, cousin of mine, ask me, is commentating difficult? And the reality of the question, or the answer to that question, is that it's difficult for different people. And what you have available to you. With nothing available to you, it's very, very difficult. With no one to talk with or bounce off of, it is very, very difficult as well. George will know that. You know, I'm pretty sure you've commentated on many a solo race, so you know, commentating on your own is very, very difficult. And of course, lacking information as well. And I had him ask me. He said, you know, how much do you prepare for a race? You go over the track. You make sure you've remembered the corners, especially if it's a track you're not familiar with. I mean, the likes of Kyalami, you know, George.
Yeah, Ryan, are you still here? I might have.
Hello.
I've still got you here. Okay.
Okay, good.
I thought I'd lost you in the European regions, but I think what you were going to say is like you said, some tracks are more difficult than others. When we go into something like Kyalami, that for me as our home circuit here is a lot easier for me to do. I've switched our camera angles back to Jason Absmeyer, our current leader on the final lap here for round 7 at Paul Ricard. The number 90 coming around for White Rabbit Gaming, going to secure the victory. I can't do any cool drone work because I broke both my controllers throwing them down the stairs. But for the moment, Jason Absmeyer will take the victory. He goes wild at the end, is going to put it into the wall, but we'll go and throw it back into the pits, I'm sure. Charles Wilkin will be the victor of that battle with Masters for what felt like most of the race. He's going to take home second place. It does feel like he's maybe a little bit off the gas there. I don't know if he was maybe just doing a bit of fuel saving towards the end, but with only a couple of corners to go, looks like Wilkin is going to make it over the line. I mean, in the background, we see Masters in that pink Porsche closing down. I mean, he's not quite out of it. He made a mistake. He got through past Kieran Patterson, but it will be Wilkin to take home second for Sarko. Third place will go to Keegan Masters from G4 Sim. Fourth to Kieran Patterson from Patterson Works Racing. Fifth to Jordan Sherritt. Sixth place will go to Dion Cap from Kai K. Seventh to Bruno Kadiri from White Rabbit. Arno Visaki from Retro Sim Slipstream will go over the final curbing to cross the line now in 8th place for Retro Sim. 9th place for Daniel Rowe and the other G4 Sim driver. So in the top 10 again for both drivers there. And Retro Sim's Jason Gray crossing the line in 10th place. I'm just going to pull up the timetable here so you can get a full listing. I'll quickly run through Kraling, Veed, Hutting, Vogel, Bego Krobler, Janssen, von Mansberg, Patterson, King, Pirelli, Hugo, Isherwood, Chaber, and Berger would be the drivers that we can see on the stream. And just off of that screen, you would see Corne Strauss, who unfortunately retired early on, and then Noah Hendricks, a DNF on that front. So, Ryan, what a race. Are you camera ready? Are we ready to go back on to the big screen telly?
I am definitely camera ready for you, George. Just got all the lockdown hair organised. I've actually had a haircut during lockdown, and it's still out of control. God, be glad when the hairdressers do finally open up again here in the UK. But
I think we've just been allowed that, so I can go and get my mane. I wear a cap to hide it, so I can go and get my mane maintained. But yeah, Ryan, I mean, closing thoughts on the race before we say goodbye to our viewers.
Great racing again. Nürburgring was, it's my first Nürburgring was, my first experience of South African racing. It was very enjoyable. Of course, you invited me back here at Paul Ricard for another one, and I think this one has been even better in my opinion. I think the battle that we had with Masters and Wilkin, absolutely top notch. Good drive from Jason Absmeyer as well. It can't be ignored. He dominated from start to finish, essentially taking the pole, taking the lead back on the first lap after he lost it in the first corner, and just drove the car and managed it incredibly well. Shout out to Sherritt, who beyond an unfortunate drive-through penalty did have a very good recovery, and I think shout out to Wilkin as well. He had a fantastic recovery from 27th after the first corner. All the way back up to P2. Driver of the day for me, hands down. And I think, if you didn't enjoy the racing that you saw here today, Well, you'll struggle to find better racing elsewhere. You really, really will.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. The drivers gave us some great on-track battles. We didn't even get to segue into our segue things as much as we wanted to, but we still were able to afford it. So, Ryan, from my side, just thanks once again for joining. It's always a privilege to have you here, and I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna just drag you back here again, I'm sure. So you just have to prepare yourself. So from myself and our viewers, and to all our viewers in the chat, thank you for joining RaceFace.Pro. If you guys do want to head over and register for their events, that's where it's happening. If you want to join the Discord and get involved with the team involved as well, feel welcome to join the Discord and have a little chat there. So I'm gonna sign us out. Ryan, do you want to say goodbye in Afrikaans? I can teach you. We go goeie aand almal, and that could be wrong.
Goeiemant Emwell. That's the best I'm gonna do. You're not gonna get any better than that.
I love that.
I'll say adios and adieu to everyone here tonight, and hopefully I can join you, George, for some more of these, because they are quite enjoyable, and it's always great to get some commentary in anywhere I can, of course, because it's something that like yourself, striving for to do maybe as a career one day. So the more I can do, the better. So anytime, dude.
Yeah, well, I agree, and we'll continue to chase that dream together. Chat, we'll see you next week. It's been great, and I'll sign us out and go and stop the stream.